Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and finally welcome back to another F1 predictions video. We are finally in a race week. We have Miami and it's a sprint weekend as well, which is so good because it means we get more racing, more competition, more points handed out. What I am slightly annoyed about though is that after Miami there's another 3-week break until the Canadian Grand Prix, so it just feels like we haven't seen F1 in ages because we've had a month break and now we're going to have another 3-week break, which is so painful. But I'm just going to try to be grateful that we have a Grand Prix this weekend. It's finally a race week and I love Miami as well. The vibes are unmatched. It was where Lando got his maiden win, and also McLaren just do well around here, which is amazing. Also, the slight regulation changes, I haven't looked too much into them. I'm not that smart to fully make sense of them. I would rather just wait to see the racing to see if it seems to have made any difference, because I'm not sure right now if it's actually going to make any difference. It probably won't. But also just having a month break could help some teams have developed their cars a bit more, giving them more time. So we might see a little bit of a shift in the order. I reckon Mercedes will still be on top, but I do reckon we'll have a strong number 2 team, which isn't Ferrari, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But my predictions for the sprint race. The sprint pole, I've gone for George Russell because Mercedes have looked so dominant in qualifying, and even if other teams and other cars have progressed over this short sprint break, I just don't think they would have progressed enough to beat Mercedes in qualifying because they've been 1-2 in every qualifying session, no matter if they've had slight issues with the car. They are a lot further ahead in qualifying than I would say they are in race pace. So, and I think obviously Kimi has got the last 2 poles, but I think George will come back this weekend. And then for sprint wing, I said Oscar Piastri, just because he looked so strong last race weekend. I believe it was Japan. It was either Japan or China. I believe it was Japan. He looked so strong. He nearly won. If there wasn't that safety car, I think he would have won. I'm a believer of that. So I think he can pull it out, especially when it's a sprint. It's a shorter distance. There's less chance for a safety car, bad weather conditions, just pit stops, messing things up. So it's literally just drive, and I do think Oscar can do it, especially because the McLaren starts look good, but obviously with this month period that we've had, it's given Mercedes a lot of time to fix their starts, so McLaren and Ferrari might not have that advantage anymore, but if they do, I know they're going to use it to their full advantage, so hopefully we can see a McLaren win this weekend, even if it's just in the sprint. And then for the actual race, I said that Lando would be pole. I know I just said that no one can beat the Mercedes pace in pole, even if they have improved their cars. But this is me being a bit delusional, guys. I think if anyone can beat Mercedes in qualifying, it's going to be a McLaren. Obviously, it could be a Ferrari. I just think everyone thought Ferrari was the second fastest team because McLaren really weren't there at all in the first 2 races. Obviously, neither of their drivers actually drove in the second round in China, but in Japan they looked really strong. Also, sorry about all of the noises going on, there's work going on to a house a couple down from us, so sorry if you can hear that. I hope it's not too distracting, but anyway, that might be me being a bit delusional, but I think if there's any issues with the Mercedes, a McLaren might be able to do it, and Lando is so good at qualifying, and I reckon he's still riding on the confidence of winning a WDC, not so much as he would have been at the start of the year because he's had a couple bad races, but I do think he can do it. But for the podium, I did say that George would win. I do think Mercedes will still be dominant enough to take back the win over race distance. And then I said Lando would be second and Oscar would be third. I'm just really backing McLaren in Miami because they are strong in Miami. I know last year they were obviously dominant, but I just love Miami and I love McLaren in Miami. So this might be me being a bit delusional, but if it turns out I'm right, then it would actually be such a good prediction. So I am going to go with it. Then my surprise prediction, and this might anger some people, I said no Ferrari top 5, which could be like pretty reasonable if I said no Ferrari top 4, because if I think McLaren are the second fastest team, I'm then saying like Mercedes, the 2 Mercedes drivers, the 2 McLaren drivers top 4, and no Ferrari drivers, but saying top 5 is actually really risky of me. But surprise prediction, or like I'm always going to make my surprise prediction something that's not actually that likely to happen, but if it does happen, it's going to look really cool that I predicted it. Obviously, I don't have any hatred in my heart towards Ferrari. I do hope they manage to make some really good upgrades during this 4-week period, and that they're coming back as strong as they were before, or even stronger. But if they don't, this prediction would be pretty good. And then I did a wheel and I spun the wheel, and the wheel landed on Aston Martin. So I then say which teammate I think is going to beat win out over the race weekend duration. And I said Lance Stroll will come ahead in the sprint, but Fernando Alonso will come ahead in quali and the race. Both of the quali sessions, sprint quali and normal quali, and the race, but Lance Stroll will finish ahead in the sprint. That was a bit of a random one. I don't really know why I chose that. That's just what was speaking to me. So if I'm right again, it'll be an insane prediction from me. But that wasn't a lot of predictions, but we don't really know how it's going to look after this break, how it's going to look after this short little bit of a regulation change. So I'm just going to let it settle for Miami. I think those predictions could be close to right, but probably not, because I haven't mentioned Kimi in there at all, and obviously he is our current championship leader, which feels like a fever dream, honestly. So it might be very wrong of me to not mention him, but that's just the predictions I was going for today. So we'll see how right I am, and maybe I need to start thinking realistically if it goes really badly. But I'm so excited that it's a race week. Can subscribe if you want to come back and watch my race review and my reaction to these predictions after the race weekend to see how well I did. I've also released some other F1 related videos over the spring break. I've done an F1 journal with me video if you want to go watch that, which is me just filling in all my journal spreads with what's happened in the F1 season so far. I've also released some book videos if you guys are readers and want to go watch that. And Noah Kahan's album came out a couple of days ago, and I'm going to talk about that at some point, probably in like a month, once I've had time to actually sit with it and actually have proper thoughts on each of the songs, because I don't want to just ramble. I want to have something important to say, especially because it is such a good album and it's such a deep album. So if you listen to Noah Kahan, stick around for that as well. But thank you for watching.